It's 12:30 a.m. I just got done seeing Black Widow, and I have a lot to say. Black Widow, a movie that should have come out a long time ago because it takes place before Captain America Civil War, was actually a great movie, had great pacing, and was a standalone movie for the Black Widow character in the Marvel Universe, a character we should have had a movie for a long time ago. Let's be real. In this movie, we get a lot of Black Widow backstory, which we have been wanting for a long time, and we've got various references from various Marvel movies. Black Widow takes care of this Russian bad guy that's doing evil deeds, and an Avenger needs to come in and handle things. This backstory is great because we get to see Black Widow when she was a kid and how she became the Black Widow, what happened with her family, who her family is. We get some Taskmaster. Wait, Taskmaster? I mean Taskmaster. Can I just call it Taskmaster from now on? From now on, that character is now Taskmaster for me. Period. I'm not saying it correctly ever again. In this movie, you get invested with a family of spies from Russia, and it's kind of a comedy and an action movie, much like many Marvel movies. We already know that Black Widow is dope because she's been in a bunch of other Marvel movies doing badass things, and now we get the full story. You get to see who her family is, and each of these characters are actually amazing and perfectly casted as far as I'm concerned. That said, let's talk about the actors that played these characters. Florence Pugh, I think that's how you say her name. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. She, to me, was just the perfect sister for Black Widow. I felt like she was Black Widow's sister. And she's so funny. There's my favorite part in the movie with her where she's making fun of Black Widow's poser pose when she's doing superhero landings. So funny. Kind of a lampoon on Marvel movies and just superheroes in general. And for me, it just hit a really good note. Then we have Rachel Weisz as Melina, the mother. And I think that this is some of the greatest fun acting we've got from her in a long time. She does an American accent perfectly, does her Russian accent perfectly, being a British person, and she just did a really good job conveying the way a mother in this situation would feel and how they would act with their conflicting issues and duties. I understand their logic behind making those decisions to make this movie in that way, to make it safe, because we haven't had a Marvel movie release in like a year. So safe decision to make is just release something you know people will like. I get that. I understand. I support it. I just really like this character and I wanted something a little more, but I'm happy with what I got. It was good timing. But we are also going to have a new Marvels movie coming out soon, The Eternals, and I have high hopes that this movie is going to do things a little bit different than what we're used to, not take such safe measures to make the movie, and we're going to get something new, enjoyable, that sets up future movies and gets us all to continue to be excited for Marvel. To end this review, I just want to say that it is the type of movie where you might want to drink some booze. I know that I got a couple $15 whiskey cokes from AMC. It was totally overpriced and it tasted funny because I think that the soda machine went bad during the apocalypse. You know, it is what it is, but I didn't want to complain. I probably should have, but I didn't. And, you know, I spent $30 on it. I'm PapaStanimus. Thank you very much for making it this far into the video. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about Black Widow. I would love to hear it. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. During this amazing story, we got some pretty dark discussions that popped up that were kind of laughed away. Another weaker aspect of this story is there's a tension between the kids and the parents when they reunite, and just with everyone, each other. Like, everyone's separated and then reuniting in this movie. And I feel like some of the darker tones to what actually happened, which is kind of a sad situation, was laughed away with your typical Marvel humor. I think that that's a good thing because that's the way Marvel movies have done it, but also there was this really cool missed moment to talk about some of these dynamics between these characters. There's a lot left for us to assume, again, as the way Marvel does things, but, you know, I just feel a little unsatisfied there. Speaking of Taskmaster, for fans that know the lore of these comics and stuff, you may be disappointed with what they did with Taskmaster. Without revealing too much, I will say that Taskmaster is kind of a RoboCop and not really the biggest concern or biggest character in this movie. Also, I want to let you guys know that I only know the lore firsthand from watching movies and stuff like that, so I have to go research these characters the way they were in the comics, and it's just not the same. So if you're a big comic book fan and purist and you want things to be like they were before, you're not going to get that with Taskmaster at all. I will also say that this movie feels a little cookie cutter. It just has the same exact pacing as previous Marvel movies. The structure to the story is very similar to what we've seen before. It's a very safe movie. Before we talk about my favorite actor in this movie, we've got to talk about Black Widow, the infamous Scarlett Johansson. Amazing as Black Widow, as always, perfect form, giving us exactly what we expect from Black Widow. And one thing I really liked about her character in this movie is that she is so strong in her resolve as an Avenger, no matter what pushback she may get from other family members and people coming into her orbit. This is where her leadership capabilities really start to grow for her character and carry on to Avengers Endgame, where she's in charge of stuff. She's stressed, she's tired, but she's still working to get the job done. Then we got to talk about David Harbour, the dad. This guy is so good at being a tough guy and funny at the same time. The perfect casting for this role. The running joke with David Harbour's character was constantly comparing himself to Captain America and how he could have beat the man. It just reminds me of an old man talking about his glory days when he was at his peak and what he could have, would have, should have done. And David Harbour, in my opinion, just nailed that absolutely. With that said, and how entertaining he was in the movie, I feel like the character was severely underused because we didn't really get any redeeming or heroic action scenes from this guy. I feel like with an old man talking about his glory days and stuff, and then he gets to come back into form, he gets an opportunity to come back and redeem himself. Where was the redemption? What the hell? He just went out with, I don't want to spoil anything, but in just the weakest ways. He didn't really get his moment, Where's his Avengers Endgame moment? Every character got even the smallest little moment, a few seconds, and he just really didn't get it. And I was like, what? One of the things I really wanted to see in this movie was David Harbour go beat some bad guys up. Just gonna let you guys know, it doesn't really go down that way. There was a moment where he actually got to fight Taskmaster, and it was just the weakest thing ever. I will say, I am, yes, gushing over this movie right now, but one of the things that totally sucked about this movie was the fact that I knew that Black Widow was not going to get hurt or die or anything like that because this takes place before Civil War, and we know what happens if you've seen all the movies. So that kind of dialed the excitement back a little bit for me, but I was able to set it